This building right behind me is mainland Britain's most remote hotel, sitting completely alone in the Scottish wilderness. No TV, no phone signal, and where we're staying for the night. For 8 days, we are driving the NC 500, an 800-kilometre ring road running around the epic sights of Scotland's north coast. So buckle up as we experience the highs and the lows of Scotland's Route 66. You join us at the start of day 5, where we once again hit the road on a grey, overcast morning on the NC 500. Hello and welcome back to the NC 500 road trip series, 8 days on Scotland's Route 66. This morning we're leaving the lovely village of Kinlochbervie and heading back onto the NC 500, passing some beaches, passing an amazing castle, and then we'll be checking into Britain's most remote hotel. So let's get back on the road. Last night we stayed in a lovely little Airbnb. It's what I'd call sort of the traditional idea of an Airbnb, where it's just a room in someone's house, but it was so cozy and the room was full of all sorts of thoughtful touches. And then the host was just so friendly, and the spread she put on for breakfast was actually borderline insane. It was like a banquet of breakfast food, so I'm very full right now, but not complaining. And the view from the room was just incredible. The best view we've had from a window so far on this trip. It was just a view of the Loch framed in the glass. It was just wow. And we hope for some more wow moments over the next 24 hours, starting with the views from this twisting mountain road as we made our way towards one of the most stunning stops on Scotland's rugged coastline. So our first stop of the day is in the village of Durness, which is the home of Sango Sands. The views from the car on the way in were really nice. There was these amazing swirling sand shapes going all the way around the coast. And now we're here at Sango Sands, which has this amazing viewpoint looking down over 2 beaches. Sango Sands is one of the most impressive beaches you'll see on the NC 500, and there's even a campsite sitting right on the cliff top, so you can wake up to these amazing views. Following the trail along the cliff edge brought us around to this wooden boardwalk, which also had some great views down over the twin beaches below. I'd love to have a swim down there, but as you can see, the weather is not looking very nice right now, so yeah, not getting in there. But the views are great. And that's not the only attraction in these parts. Luckily, Durness is home to another natural wonder that provides plenty of cover from the elements. So our second stop of the day is just on the edge of Durness village at Smoo Cave. And there's a little walking trail that goes right over the top of the cave and round the side, so you get some amazing views down onto the cave opening. And then you can climb all the way down and walk right inside. And there's some boat tours that you can do inside the cave as well, which looks really good. Smoo Cave is actually a pretty unique place in the UK. Standing at 50 foot high, it has one of the largest entrances of any sea cave in Britain. And there's no fee to walk inside and explore this main towering cavern. This wooden walkway inside leads into the first in a series of freshwater caves, most of which are only accessible by these little rubber dinghies. If you've got the time, the Smoo Cave boat tour definitely looks like a lot of fun. But we're heading back on the road now, heading towards Tongue, which should take about 50 minutes. And if there's anything on the way, I suppose we'll show you. Obviously, these views are still just incredible, but after 5 days of driving along the route and you're just seeing views like this all the time, you really start to get desensitized to it. So you really have to just stop yourself and be like, wow, We're very lucky to be up here because this scenery is just unreal. We followed the road onwards into the village of Tongue, which was still pretty far away from Britain's most remote hotel, but it already felt quite isolated. Check out the Tongue petrol station. Pretty quiet. Petrol aside, we had stopped in Tongue for a good reason. In fact, the most famous site in the area can be seen for miles around. So we just parked up in Tongue, which is yet another very quiet little village, and we're just starting the climb up to Castle Varrich, which is a ruined castle right up on the hill, and it looks like it has some amazing views. So hopefully what it lacks in structure, it will make up for with views of a loch. The hike up to the castle takes about an hour. From the centre of the village, we followed a narrow path between the fields and across a nice stream. Lovely. And on the way up, there were some lovely views looking back over the green hills. But from this point, the path did start to get a lot steeper. It's a little bit of a climb, but we're almost there. Castle Varrich is a building shrouded in mystery. Thought to be over 1,000 years old, historians believe that it once had 3 floors, including a stables at the base of it. But these days, there's not a whole lot left. But there's still at least one really great reason to make the climb up. So here we are. It's a very bad looking thing. But have a look at this. I think this is all about location. Come on in.
Is it cool?
Yeah. I didn't realise this from the research, but you can actually climb right into the castle, and they've built this metal viewing platform. Let's take a look. Wow. You get 360-degree views from up here, all around the bay with that turquoise blue water. And back to the mainland as well. You can see Tongue where we came from, just on the hill there. Looking down from this point over the loch, we started feeling pretty disconnected from the world below, but that was nothing compared to the feelings of isolation at our next stop. Well, if you thought Castle Varrich was remote, wait till you see our next stop. We've now turned off the NC500 and we're heading towards a town called Kinbrace, which is the closest place to Britain's most remote hotel, where we are spending the night. Garvault House sits in the middle of the Scottish Highlands, 20 miles from the nearest city, 10 miles from the nearest town, and the same distance from any other accommodation, offering guests an opportunity to completely immerse themselves in nature. For quite a few miles we were passing a lot of farms, but now it looks very, very sparse. It's just open fields and mountains in the distance. I feel like I should put the music to The Shining over this footage. Here we go, just turned off the road. We're now driving down to the Garvault, the only building as far as the eye can see. weren't really sure what to expect as we drove through the gates, so we just parked up and headed straight through the front door. And after about a minute, we realised that there was actually nobody around, and the whole house was completely empty. After a few minutes of wandering around the rooms, we ran into the owner and ended up sitting around talking with him for the best part of an hour. He told us about how they ended up there and some of the history of the hotel and the surrounding area. And it was immediately clear that this was not going to be a regular hotel. This honestly feels like less of a hotel and more like you've been welcomed into a family home. And you're basically just given free reign of the house. You can just have a wander around, sit where you want, relax. Really nice experience so far. After that, we were shown up to the first floor where we found our little remote room for the night. So this is what a room looks like in Britain's most remote hotel. It costs £137 for the night and it looks very, very cosy. And that price does include breakfast as well. And I think all the guests sit down for one big dinner tonight all together. Because obviously you're not going to find anywhere else around here to grab something to eat. But let's have a little look around the room and see what you get. Got a nice big bed over here, which I have already tried and it is very comfortable. And over to the right, we've got a lovely little bathroom as well, which is also a very good size. And there is a shower just behind this door here. And we have been told that the water pressure is quite good, which is nice to know. And they've also added a few little toiletries as well, which is a nice touch. But of course, the real highlight of being here is the views from this window that look out onto the gardens and just remote Scotland in the distance. And you do just stop and listen and realise how quiet it is here. The hotel itself is completely off-grid, with solar panels and a separate generator providing electricity for the rooms. And being so remote, you're obviously not going to find a local pub or any restaurants nearby, so the hotel provides both of these services on site, and we had a lovely 3-course meal with the other guests for an extra cost. And seeing as the sun had decided to make an appearance, we set out to explore the remote wilderness of the land around us. So we're all checked in. The house has got so much character. There's loads of little nooks and crannies and it just feels really, really cosy in there. Almost feels like a hunting lodge. But apparently everything started for this hotel as a fishing lodge, so people would come here to fish for brown trout. We met one of the owners, Adrian, and he's really, really friendly. He made us a coffee and gave us a bit of cake. And now we're just going to go on a walk out in this amazing landscape and see what we can find. May seem like a fairly obvious statement, but it really does feel isolated out here. Walking along the road like this, it's almost apocalyptic. Just the sound of the wind now. We took some advice from our host and followed this track out into the wilderness, giving us some real perspective on the hotel's location. That's the hotel just over there. You really get a sense of how isolated it is from this view. Crazy. You probably couldn't see that on the camera because I've got my wide lens on, but a deer just sprinted across and up the hill. And luckily, it's not stalking season at the moment, so he's safe. After about an hour being exposed to the strong winds, the track finally led us down to this lonely shoreline, which was a pretty special place. Well, some stops on the NC500 feel quite quiet and remote, but this is just a whole other level. Got this whole loch to ourselves. We walked for about an hour from the hotel along this track, and eventually we came out on this little shore. And there's some fishing boats, and it's obviously a lovely place to do some fishing. Well, we didn't really know what to expect from that loch, but it ended up being gorgeous. So quiet. You really feel like you're in the wilderness out here. And now we're walking back to the hotel because at 7:30 we've got a group dinner with everyone else. Well, we just finished up a really lovely 3-course dinner downstairs and a few drinks as well. And as we finished eating, you could see the sun setting outside and the sky was turning this amazing golden colour. And this is actually the first sunset we've had on this whole trip because the days are so long out here at this time of year that it barely ever gets dark. But tonight, it really was beautiful. When we were just walking around the grounds, taking in the golden light, we saw a stag just outside the main gate. There's a stag over there. Massive. Self-isolation has become a pretty common phrase over the last couple of years. But despite spending a lot of time at home in lockdown, I've constantly been connected to my phone, to my laptop, maybe even more than I was before the pandemic started. So to self-isolate here, in this remote spot, with no phone, no internet, no TV, was actually really refreshing. Obviously the scenery was beautiful and the hotel was lovely, but it was the hospitality that I'll remember most from our stay here. And once again, the view from our bedroom window offered more than enough entertainment for the evening. It's just gone 11 o'clock, and I just looked out the window just to check on the sky, and we've got a visitor down there. How amazing is that? Next time on the NC500 road trip series, we drive to the most popular site and some more hidden gems on Scotland's extreme north coast.